welcome back to the Shadows. This is All Things Paranormal Thursdays, usually true crimes, but we switch it up every now and then, where belief and mystery walk hand in hand through the dark woods. I am your host, Gabriel Von Graves, and tonight we gather beneath the weight of ancient whispers, whispers of women who once danced under blood moons, who spoke in symbols and silence, whose very breath was said to bend the walls of the world. Witches, once feared, once haunted, but never forgotten. This story is older than any script, woven from the same threads that bind thunder to earth and moonlight to seas. They were midwives and mystics, healers and heretics, and for centuries the line between sacred and condemned were drawn with fire and fear. Yes, my friends, tonight we seek not the fear but the truth. What is the essence of a witch? What does it mean to feel the world beneath your skin, to see beyond the veil and hear what others cannot? And to guide us through this mystery, I am honored to welcome a voice that straddles both light and shadow, a modern witch, a psychic, and a soul unafraid to confront the paradox of power itself. Tonight's guest is Michelle. Welcome, Michelle. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And I am told that you're called the Paradox Witch. That's cool.
That's the name that came to me, I guess.
I love it. Well, she walks with wisdom older than time, balancing the unreal and the unearthly, the mystical and the misunderstood. Also, let's not forget Raven Knight, my wonderful co-host that always lines up wonderful guests to talk to. Welcome, Rave. How's your day
Thank
going?
you. Oh, good, good. And I'm so happy to be here, and I'm happy that Michelle is here. We have a lot to talk about. So, yeah, I'm excited for this one.
Me too. So, wherever you are this evening, draw the curtains, pour a drink, light a candle if you dare, and let your spirit settle into the hum of the unknown. Because tonight, my friends, we are stepping into a circle older than any church, where the veil trembles and the witch's voice finally raises again. This is All Things Paranormal Thursday. I'm once again Gabriel Von Graves, the beautiful Michelle. Welcome, Raven Knight. Raven, take it away, my friend.
Well, first of all, Michelle, thank you so much for being here.
Yes,
Um,
thank you.
Michelle Green, you also are known as the Paradox Witch, which I want to get into why you're known as that. But before we even get there, I want to get into a little bit of your background and how you kind of found your footing in, or even how you even became a witch to begin with, and even how you found that you were a psychic, because I know that you also say that you're a psychic medium. So could you tell us a little bit about your background and how all of these things came into play?
Of course, happy to. So, the year was 2010, and I moved to Canada with $700 and a dream. Um, and kind of, yeah, it was I should have planned more, but in the end it led me to this beautiful mystery that you know allowed me to end up here where I am now. So I had a lot of extra time when I first moved to Canada. I moved for love, to be with my partner that I met in college, and we were both kind of on a spiritual journey, I'll say. And I'll never forget, I was reading the book My Summer with the Leprechaun, and how she talks about it in the book is just like, what did, okay, just no explanation. Just, so I hung out with the leprechaun at this cottage, and I'm like, okay.
Absolutely.
And then I'm like, okay, I want to open up my gifts, but I know that I'm afraid of like seeing something, like actually seeing something. And so I kind of just like followed the breadcrumbs on my spiritual journey. It led me to yoga teacher training and Reiki and all of those things in Canada between 2010 and 2012. And I will never forget this night when I had to confront my worst fear, which is seeing something and seeing something negative at that. I was woken up in the middle of the night and I thought my partner was staring at me because it was like their face was right here. And then my hand went through what I thought was their face. And I was like, oh. And so I called out their name and they woke up and then I was frozen. And this thing was inside of my head and it was like evil laughing. And it was just, I was frozen and terrified and I couldn't say anything. And I don't know how long it took me to fall asleep that night, but it was just like such a scary experience. In the morning, my partner had said, I didn't want to say anything, but when you woke me up in the night, I saw this dark figure kneeling beside the bed. And I was like, well, let me tell you about my night. And that really like just launched me into a bunch of different connections with people, which led me to do more. Like, honestly, my spiritual journey started with like exorcisms and seeing spirits, and then starting to just like have to see them everywhere after that and feel them and constantly being on the defense. And I feel like I'm glad that's not my journey anymore, but I had to go through that phase in order to realize like it's nothing to be afraid of, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally.
Since that was my worst fear.
Wow, that's really interesting. That's a really interesting like
awakening. Actually, that's way cool.
So that was like the beginning, 15 years ago, however long that was, and just have been following the breadcrumbs ever since. I've been doing like card readings, oracle readings since that exact time, back when I was 21, I believe. I'm 37 now. So I've been doing card readings for a while, and about 4 years ago, I found the Akashic Records. I had kind of set a goal of like, I can feel that I want to do readings without cards, but in a lot of ways, it's a little bit of a crutch, to just like have this external tool to read people, and then you can get other information. But I wanted to read people without cards. And then I found the Akashic Records, and that was it. I did 28 readings in a week and started to discover mediumship because I wasn't with the person or in communication with the person I was reading, but I would have spirits come through. And so I wouldn't be able to get the validation right away. There was no way that I would like know anything. I would just describe like, this is a really strong spirit coming through and this is how they're presenting. And then I've since like just refined my skills of communicating with spirits, and started to like open up to, okay, I'm open to spirits communicating with me beyond readings, and just like opening up the dialogue with spirits in general. So yeah, I primarily do psychic readings, and then as far as like witchcraft, it feels like something that's always been in me, and it's just looked different ways over the years, I guess. I do a lot. I started with like spell jars. I do a lot of like candle magic, and it's interesting because you brought up like the paradox witch, and a lot of that actually comes from my yoga background. So I studied in the Himalayan tradition, and then in like my 500-hour training, studied with Tantra yoga. And Tantra is really different from, I guess, like more Western yoga in that is, and even just like the practices of the times when, it was the priest would come and do the practices and the rituals for you. And then Tantra came and it was world affirming, body affirming, goddess affirming. And I really think that that's like this original, or, this Eastern form of witchcraft, of embodiment and saying yes to everything. And that's really what Tantra is. And through my life, I've just learned that really it's not about ascending duality. Like so much of, especially like yoga, is concerned with ascending and like getting out of your body and enlightenment. when in reality, it's like we're here to experience duality, and there's a path that allows us to take all that is and say yes to it. And it leads us to the sacred and the spiritual within duality by saying yes to all of it and both sides. And in a way, that's like the ascension beyond like good, bad, right, wrong. It just is.
I kind of like that.
That's very
Like that's
fascinating. So for people like me that may not be that enriched in all those different things you talked about, can you break those down? Because I'm listening, it sounds cool, but I have no idea.
he is not a yoga or a
No.
yogi. He's not into.
Listen, I
I
don't.
don't think he
Yeah,
ever thought a day of yoga in his life.
that's not true. I fell down once and I had to get back up. I was like, oh, and there we go. Stretching.
Well, I'll say this in regards to witchcraft. It's because a lot of new age spirituality, like I'm sure you've heard positive vibes only or good vibes only. Like they sell that on sweatshirts, for whatever. And as like a shadow worker and a paradox witch, I say like your rage, especially valid rage, it's there for a reason, and actually it's a good energy that you can use, and you can use
Right.
it in a way that you put your intentions into it for something healthy. So I'll give you an example. So I had to go for my friend. She had some hearing today, and she asked me to come with her for some custody placement. I did a spell for her. And I'm just like literally in so much rage sitting and watching her ex-husband. And I just like, and I'm like, okay, how can I use this rage energy for something
Right.
good? Like, obviously, this energy is there. It's not something I need to suppress or make it go away. And so it's like, I have this oil. I'm not going to say the name of it because it's a swear word. And I just put it over a piece of paper petitioning what I want. And I'm just like, okay, this rage is so useful. And I'm going to use this energy and send it off into the universe with this oil and burn it. So, yeah.
So I guess I kind of understand what you're saying. You turn like a negative um, energy into something positive. You use the strength of it, and you redirect the form.
Yeah.
I'm assuming
It's
that's
alchemy.
okay.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you said that you started reading cards. Can we go back? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So you are a card reader, or you used to be?
I don't do card readings. I have my cards, but I don't really read them anymore, I guess. Like
Okay.
when I do readings, I'll just have people say their name,
Okay.
and then I'll tune in, and sometimes the
Gabriel
spirit
Von
will come
Graves.
through. What?
Gabriel Von Graves.
I would love to hear it.
No.
Yeah.
And then you said, so you don't do
Many
cards anymore.
knowledge.
You said that you do something else now.
Just
I
psychic mediumship readings. I say like whenever people ask what the Akashic records are, or like what an
what
Akashic
are the
reading would be.
Akashi records? What
Akashic
is that? Yeah.
Okay, so since we're going there,
Let's
I'll give
go
you my
there.
opinion on it, because honestly, a lot of books I've read, and I've only read like one, and then I got halfway through another book, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
So the
I've only
Akashic
read one book
records,
too, and I was like, screw it.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
forget books. Who needs to
Yeah.
learn?
Well, we'll just
You
watch it
know?
on TV. It's good.
It was like one of those
Exactly.
picture books, is what it was.
It was. Where you open the thing and the little pops out. Yeah, I love those.
I love those. Those are the
Yeah.
best.
And you push the little thing, and they make little movements. Sorry about that, Michelle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Akashic records are a storehouse of collective and individual information. So this would be like, whether you can imagine it as a space in a different dimension that holds information about your soul and all of the journeys your soul has been on, all the incarnations, and then also the collective.
Okay.
And so there's the keepers of the Akashic records, and to me they feel very alien in nature, and I love working with aliens.
One of my best friends are
Interdimensionals.
aliens. It's all good. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll call them interdimensional. So
Mm-hmm.
they feel very like interdimensional, alien in nature, and I connect with them sometimes for the information. Sometimes it's through people's spirits, and sometimes it's just like psychic information connecting person to person.
Right. And that's great. Actually, that sounds cool. So, how do you reach this? Is it kind of a mindset? Is that what you do? Kind of a meditation to get to that plane, if you will?
Yeah, I think that's a good question because it's something that we
I only
all
ask
have access
good
to.
good questions, Michelle.
I don't know
They're all
about
good.
that.
Well, wow, I like her. Yes.
Um,
It's
that's a typical man answer.
I can see this is
I
going to be
like that
great for
too.
me. Yes. Okay. Team
um,
ovaries. I'm cool with it. Let's just do it. It's all good.
Team
moving
over.
on. So we all have access to it, and it's just a sense of like, so psychic mediumship is like art. Like some of us are
Right.
born just like out of the womb, we're somehow artistic, right? And some of us can learn different skills to hone the whatever sort of artistic craft we want.
Mhm.
And some of it is like passed down ancestrally, so there's like different layers to it of maybe it's something that we've experienced in a past life, maybe it's ancestral, maybe it's just something we develop, and those are all valid options. I
I
would
like
say
it.
for me, I know that the gift does run through my family on my
Huh.
mother's side, and then I think my background in yoga really prepped my mind to be able to enter into that meditative state to receive information.
Right.
So for like, I did this like a year and a half long meditation challenge, and it was a really intense journey before I found out I was pregnant, and then I finished. It was a mantra meditation, and I finished it while I was being cut open, giving birth, we'll call it. And
Yeah.
I was
No,
finishing
cutting
this
open. I
mantra.
like it. You know. Why
It
not?
is what it is. Let's
It
be real.
is what it is. Yes.
So it was like I really and in a lot of ways, like I don't meditate like that anymore
No, of course not.
because I can feel how that was really like dissociative. And it's a good helpful skill to have, but it's not one I feel like grateful that I've honed it in the past, and now I get to like utilize and tap into that space when I do readings for clients.
Sure.
That's very cool.
I want to ask you, like, so when you talk about, all of these things that you've kind of learned and developed on your own, or I guess in a way, how could somebody who wanted to do that kind of thing, I guess, get there at the same time? Like, how would they transform into what you're talking about, I guess?
Yeah, mentorship. Honestly, it's such an important thing, and I did a lot of it on my own, but like in the beginning when I was in Canada, I actually met these two sisters, and they took me on the exorcism journey, and that was wild. I cannot find them to this day. They're like disappeared off social media, and they would be like, "Michelle, we're going to so and so's house. They're possessed and we're going to do an exorcism, and you know Ricky, right? Let's go." And I'm like, "Okay."
And you're like, I am off. Let's do that.
And I said, "I think I'm down for this ride. Let's do it. Let's see what happens."
Right.
And that things got real.
Yeah.
I did cleanse it crazy also when I moved back from Canada. After I actually had my son, somebody called me in to do like a clearing at Galloway Grill. Have you guys been there to the basement to do a
No. Wait, what?
So here I am. My brother used to work there. And I had, as a client, somebody who was like managing it, and they were like, "You have got to come and like cleanse this space and like see what's going on." And so I like had my baby in a car seat, who I left him with somebody at the bar, and I was like, "I'm sure it's fine." Like my brother,
All good
my
stories start with I just
brother's
dropped my baby off at a bar. You know? That's
It goes in the basement too. Look
yeah.
this is so
I didn't
That's right.
listen. I trust
Listen,
a
I
bar
go in the
person
basement.
over
I go in the
a
basement.
spirit in a
Oh,
basement. Let's be real.
absolutely. Bar people are the best, man.
Be like, "This
So
is your baby now, bar people."
That's right.
there you go.
But I
So there's
get
a
there,
funny
and
story, Michelle, that I like to go into basements. So somebody's like, "Hey, I have a haunted objects in a basement." I just go. Don't even ask questions. I just go, and there's this running joke on all of our episodes. So I'm glad that you brought up basements.
Well, you guys should check out if you can get into that basement. Highly recommend, because it is wild in there. I show up, I drop off the baby, I get my stuff, I go in the basement, and I'm like, why does it smell like blood down here? And they're like, yeah, there was an accident and blood spilled everywhere. And I know, I was like, of course, of course there was. Anyways, I connected to two spirits. One was like more a malevolent spirit, and one was like somebody who had killed themselves. And they were like, there's some weird loop that was playing. Because I feel like sometimes ghosts, kind of their energy can get stuck in that place, and they like experience this loop because they don't realize. So I kind of just like did my little thing and moved on and got my baby. But
I'm glad you got the baby.
Got the baby.
The dingo did get my baby. You did. That's good. That is good. So what?
I was gonna say, when you talk, I just want to ask a question about you talking about like connecting to spirit, right?
Mhm.
Like, how does that work for you? Like, what kind of, what are you feeling it? Are you seeing it? Like, what's going on that you're connecting?
Yeah, there's different layers. So I've physically seen spirits. Obviously, my first time when it was like a shadow person, like I don't want to see them again. So goodbye. I have more protections up now. That actually work, and not just call them in more. But I've seen like a ghost, like physically too, and they look more like a gray outline. Like usually it's like I'll wake up in the middle of the night, and I'll like see somebody really clearly, but it looks like just a shadow of a person or like a gray version of a person. And so that can be a little more intense and shocking to my system when I'm like, what is going on? But a lot of times when I'm connecting to spirits for like clients, it will show up like, I guess, like a movie in my mind, like really specific. And they'll give me just like little bits of information at a time. Like I had a client, like really specifically, I was like, the grandma with the bowl cut, and then I'll just know, there's a sense of like knowing, and I'm just like, I know that they kept their disease secret, or like, just like little bits of information. Sometimes if I'm like face to face, like at a psychic fair with a client, and a spirit comes through, they'll give me some information through my body sometimes. So I'll be like, I can't breathe. What is going on? Like this one time I was like, I cannot breathe. And then I saw like those old commercials for like smoking where they have like the thing and they're like, don't smoke, or you'll end up like me.
That is a damn good impression, by the way. That's I love that.
And she was like, yeah, my fiance died of throat cancer. I was like, okay, that checks out. Yeah, so it kind of just like weird information and things will pop in my head, and I just learned to like trust what I'm seeing, if that makes sense. But it just takes practice.
So my general instinct is not to upset a witch. So I'm holding back a lot. Raven goes, remember, she's a witch and a psychic and probably hates men. So I said, I'll do my best.
Nothing else to say.
See? Right.
However, I want to learn the ways of Michelle. You know what I mean?
So I've never met a witch or a psychic, right? I'm not a disbeliever nor a disbeliever. I'm not a disbeliever nor am I a believer. I had as my life is full of things that I can't explain. Some is darker than others. And of course, you kind of have to experience those things, I believe, to have at least a curiosity into some of the stuff Raven Knight and I kind of get into. And I lost all my volume. Can you guys still hear me? Thumbs up. I love that. All right. Well, that's Raven. She had a buzz and she muted herself. I love that. So, I'm not a disbeliever nor a believer. What kind of the things have you dealt with where you question, is this something you want to continue on because of the effects? As in, Raven Knight and I, we went to a house called the Sally House. We bring it up all the time because it's the most famous haunted house, right?
And we
And
had a lot of experiences.
yeah, and before we went into that house, we had an experience in another house that was, I would say, a little depressive. And it followed us into the Sally. Are you familiar with the Sally House, first of all?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. Well, first of all, as a psychic, you should have said yes, but that's all right. Listen. We're learning to get to know each other. It's fine. Raven just texted me and said, Matthew, she will put a hex on you, so I'll stop that.
I didn't,
Um,
but
yeah,
if we could, that'd be great.
she said, please continue, is what she said. So, Sally House is known for a little girl that died that really didn't die there. Um, and but it definitely does have somewhat of a portal effect. And it did leave an impression of most people that visit that location. And I am under the personal impression that all the idiotic paranormal investigators that go there bring all that crap energy, right? And it kind of just swirls around, And then other people bring their energies, and before you know it, you got this great big huge monstrous things. And we were recorded where there was nothing. I walked in the room, we had all these orbs. First of all, how do you feel about orbs? Are they nonsensical, or is there something to orbs? And this is a bunch of different questions. We're just gonna
You
shoot
just
through them.
did, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
thank
did a
you.
whole thing.
Yeah,
Okay. How do you feel
yeah.
about orbs?
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you feel about orbs there, Michelle?
Well, 2 weekends ago, I visited the Paulding Lights
Oh, I have no idea what that
Dave,
is. Oh, that sounds
Michigan.
great. Yeah.
in Michigan. Exactly, at a
Nice.
psychic fair in Waters
Michigan.
Meet, and we all
Yes.
visited. And I was like, they're coming! Like it was great. It was crazy.
Was it amazing?
So I
Like,
got
was
to
it?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They came. They came, and it was wild. And they because a lot of the interactions I've had with, like, I guess you say, like, alien or interdimensional beings has been more like telepathic. So I think like spiritual doubt can definitely come into play when it's more of like a internal psychic experience where it can't be validated, where like with a client I can like validate information. But when it's like telepathic communications with a with an alien, that's like something else that you just have to like build trust with. But the lights was really cool. It like would definitely come closer, and it got so bright that like you could I don't know how else to describe it other than it looked angelic. Like it looked like the rays were so angelic, and then it would just like disappear and then be red somewhere else, and then you could see the red dot like moving. So it was like putting on a show, and then you could tell some people behind me were like a little more in fear. And
Oh, okay.
so we were talking to it, and it's like, okay, only come as close as the most afraid person will allow, or. And so we were like trying to like, and it's like, good, go red. We're incognito, like come closer in the red color because it's a little less scary.
So
What do you
you're
think
going
of?
with orbs, definitely their energy. Is that what you're kind of saying?
100%, yeah,
100% energy? Okay.
100%, yeah.
Do you think that they let's just take a house or a building, whatever. Do you think they manifest because they draw from the energy of the individuals inside that property?
There's a lot of different. Spirits are everywhere.
They are.
And spirits are everywhere. Spirits are connected to us. Spirits are connected to places, and spirits are connected to things.
They
Uh,
are.
yeah, so it's like spirits are just everywhere. So, I know that they also attach to us,
Sure.
and especially the negative ones. So what I always say with like negative entities and attachments and negative spirit attachments is like a lot of times like attracts like. And so when we're in a fear energy, there's like that attachment or this like feed or fuel for it. And so it's like you have to hold that space of being in your own energy and not, because there's a lot of things. I've had a lot of interactions where I've had to be like, go away. Like they set off my smoke detectors before, and I'm just like, leave me alone. I'm tired. And then they got my husband because I didn't do full protection. So like spirits are everywhere. Sometimes the ones they be messing with you too to try to see if they can feed, if that makes sense.
So law of attraction, positive attracts positive. Negative attracts negative.
or like attracts like.
Right.
Like a
So
lot.
like getting outside the into the paradox of,
Right.
you know, good, bad, right, wrong. It's just like that frequency or that energy is fuel, that equal energy to that low vibrational spirit. If you're in that fear state, it's like, yeah, love that. Let's stay
So-
here.
What
I
is
wanna
this?
say-
Go ahead,
I want
Ruth.
to say something before you get there, because
Yeah.
that brings up a theory that I have, and that's why I'm like kind of smiling over here. I'm not gonna lie, because I think we've been in places, right, where, and I'm not gonna name where, but we've been in places where somebody was with us and they were obviously afraid of things. They were afraid of what and so all of a sudden, like, there was energy, there was stuff happening, but when that person left that area and it was just us, and then we had nothing happen. And I had this theory that I think that whatever was in that space was feeding off the fear of this other person. And as soon as this other person left, and Gabriel and I are just very chill and calm because we believe it, but like we also are not afraid of it. It could not manifest itself anymore because it wasn't feeding off of that fear anymore. So I love that you brought that up, because that kind of just goes with what I was thinking was probably occurring, because when that person was in that space with us, we definitely knew something was there. We could tell, we could feel it. There were things
Absolutely could.
and then all of a sudden there was nothing. And we're like, why? Why did this change? But that person had left. So
That's that's great that you followed up with that, Raven. Michelle, what is the scariest thing that you've encountered? You said you were in a couple exorcisms, and that's some scary stuff, right? You're dealing with demons, right? Demons are, first of all, are demons earthbound? Are they not of Earth?
I don't know about experience with demons in particular. Versus just like I guess I would describe beings as like, okay, there's shadow people, there's like low vibrational, maybe like a lost, you know, somebody who was alive and then had passed, or was a not so positive person when they were living, and then their spirit is lingering. And then there's just like a negative and like evil. And I want to say probably the scariest was my first awakening, because it was evil. It was like, I never have felt that since, and I never want to again. Like, I don't know, it was literally trapped me inside of my head with this evil laughing. And
So was it trying to keep you not from becoming? Do you think? Was it there to try to stop that?
Well, in the bigger picture of things, like, thank you, evil spirit, for like awakening me, like being my awakening. Like, in the end, what is sacred and what is divine. And sometimes I feel like, you know, and it's like you think about the world and all the negative things going on in the world, and like, where is that leading? And like, we just don't know what negative things lead to positive things. And we just like we want to think we know what things mean and where they're headed. And so like, I think of like, that was a negative experience, and now I feel like very grateful for it, because for me it was like, now beyond a doubt, there is no question that was a real thing.
That's very nice. So as a witch, you are definitely a witch, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is in your is it a religion? Is it a following? What is it that it is for you?
I love that. Well, Wicca itself is a religion. That's not
Okay.
something I practice. So Wicca is a religion. I want to say invented by a man in the 90s. That's all I know, the extent of it.
Another
And
reason why we don't date men. You know what I mean?
literally,
Yeah,
listen,
right,
if it
right.
came
I
from a
tell ya,
man, we don't
right?
want it. I'm just kidding.
Absolutely. Hey, you know what? I live by that. If it came from a man, I don't
I
want
don't
it.
want
You
it.
know, it's what I live with. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and go ahead. Witchcraft comes from the word Wicca, which just means wisdom. So it's
It
the
does
wisdom
indeed. Yes.
keepers. So I like to think of it as, there's no set practice. There's glamour witches, there's beauty witches, there's basil witches or earth witches, there's candle, you know, there's so many different psychic witches, there's so many different ways to be a witch, and there's no right or wrong way, even though some people want to try to tell you there's a right or wrong way. There's closed
Screw those
practices
people.
of
You know what I
witchcraft
mean?
that come from
Yeah.
a tradition, though, that like you have to respect. The like hoodoo is a closed practice, though if I'm white, I'm not going to practice hoodoo. Stuff
Can
like
we
that.
say that? Can we say if I'm not white, I'm not going to practice? Can we say that, Raven? That's okay.
I think so.
Okay,
No,
great.
it's
I
just
love
a
that.
fact. It's a
Yeah,
fact.
it is a fact.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So, is
Different
there a
things you
heaven
have
and
to
earth when it comes to
with other
witches,
people's cultures.
or is it more of a planual thing? I mean,
No, there's no manual. There's no, I mean, there is for like, so there's traditions of
Right.
witchcraft. Like I said, like hoodoo is a tradition. You know, there's those who follow like Santeria. There's, you know, different cultural practices that would fall under witchcraft, right? Some of the practices are open, meaning anybody can practice them, and some of them are closed, which means it's only for that culture. But like I buy oils from a hoodoo practitioner, where like I can buy the oils from her and use them in my practice, but I wouldn't be able to like make them myself. So there's like some awareness to be had around it, but like what my witchcraft, what like I had a circle on the harvest moon, and I did a little ritual with the full moon water, and we did a little kind of incantation, and then drank the water, and then danced under the full moon in the rain.
so okay. So when a witch tells me they're
Sunday.
dancing under the moon,
Sunday.
I picture nude people just running around, the fire in the middle, right? Throwing stuff in the fire and
You
go
do.
poosh. You know that's my image of a witch. Am I how far
Exactly
off?
what it is.
God, I love witches. Okay, well, that's great. So I definitely would not want to be there if you would like us to be there. I guess
You're
I'd
not
make it
invited.
happen.
No, you're amazing.
Is it because I'm a guy? I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
Safe
Screw men,
spaces.
right? I get it.
It
So
was a woman's only.
women's
Sorry.
only.
It was
Of
a
course.
women's circle and
Most
full
of the fun
moon
things
ritual
are.
stuff.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, absolutely. So do you believe in heaven and earth then as a witch? Like God and Lucifer?
I believe that heaven and hell is a concept of earth. It
Okay.
is all existing. That's the paradox, is like we are in heaven and hell right now. The most evil of evil, as you guys know, studying crime, evil is here.
Mhm.
And so is heaven, and the
Yes.
most beautiful aspects of nature and the most touching connections that we have with each other. And like, it's just like, this is heaven and hell right here. Like, why are we trying to put that into the afterlife?
No, that makes a lot of sense actually. And when you say like studying true crime, like because I'm a huge true crime buff, Gabriel doesn't know as much about true
I
crime,
don't
but
know a thing about true crime other than,
human
to my
psyche.
understanding, it's never solved. And when someone gives me some kind of crime, I solve in like 4 seconds,
And like
and then
yeah,
everybody is pissed because it makes so much sense, and they're like, "How do you do that?" And I simply say, "I don't know. You
common
know,
sense.
it just happens." Yeah,
Logic.
it's just what I have. So if you happen to have, Michelle, a true crime you'd like to run by me, even though you're a psychic, I'll solve it. And it's not like a parlor trick. I just I listen to like I don't know little bits and pieces. I start running cartoons in my head until he stops speaking, and then I just come up with something. It's great.
He's just saying
Listen,
this after.
What?
I'll keep this in mind, but hopefully I
Yes.
don't get true crimed, you know? Like, I hope that I have enough protections, but I'll keep you in
Well,
mind.
if you ever have a mystery and you're like, you know what, damn it, I just don't got it. All you gotta do is just give me a little snaps of it, and I'll
Okay.
finish it. It's
Oh,
not a
Yeah.
problem, Michelle. It's what I do. So as a psychic, and I'm not going to test you. Remember, we joked off air that I was going to test you. I'm not going to do that
But
because Raven says
I would love for her to do a reading on both of us.
no. So, what is the scariest
Live.
thing you've encountered? Because I've encountered stuff through all my travels, along with Raven, that makes you stop and wonder if maybe um, there's a limit of what the human mind can grasp, right? I mean, we're only human. There's things out there I just don't think that we can understand. That's my personal belief. You have yours. I never tell anybody that you're wrong. You believe what you believe, right? At the end, we all pay for our sins. It is what it is, right? Um, so, what is the scariest thing you've ever encountered, and have you got to the point where you're like, you know, that was a close one. I wasn't able to shake that off as easy as I thought it would. Maybe I shouldn't go any further. Has that happened at this point yet?
I don't think so. I think because I have enough like resources and like connections to like if I feel I've definitely like I know the last time I drank alcohol or like before I quit drinking alcohol, I like could feel an attachment and I could and you want to know what's crazy is I was put in the energy of watching I got so addicted to Psychic Kids. Have you ever watched that show?
No.
I've heard of it, but I might
Okay.
have seen one or two. Okay,
Okay.
maybe.
So
I think I've
like,
seen the commercial for it, but I don't know.
okay, it's actually really intense, and it's a
Okay.
lot of kids who have to deal with spirits, and some of them are not good. And like I remember the last episode, it like threw a knife at her, and it got like real physical.
Right.
And I think I was in that. It put me in this space of like fear energy, and then, and I felt I had this attachment, and it was like I couldn't get rid of it. But I guess I got this intuition to like go to because
A happy place.
salt
Right.
is really clearing. Salt is really clearing for the body and for spirit to clear spirits from the body. And I was like, what's the most amount of salt? Those float pods, the sensory float pods are like pounds of Epsom salt that you just lay in. And so I booked an appointment with that. It was like I need to cleanse myself of evil spirits because dang.
That actually,
I have never laid in salt. Have you, Raven? Ever laid in salt
No,
before?
but I would love to try one of those pods that she's talking about. I forgot we even had those in this town. That being said, so we talk like again, we talk about the Sally House a lot, and so we left the Sally House, and literally, Michelle, you could feel like I literally felt like I had to just
Yeah.
do this, right? Like when we left. And I know that when we go into certain places, I know we want to go into places and do investigations, and it's something that we're very passionate about. But the problem is that some places do have that super huge energy, right? Or you leave and you feel like you've got maybe an attachment, or you feel like super heavy or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that brings me to, and people ask us this question all the time, so I'm going to ask you, what is something that you do to like ground yourself and to bring yourself back? And
She said
to,
salt. She goes to a Sam's Club, cuts open a big 50-pound thing of salt, and just rubs herself with it. It's all
not
good.
everybody
Keep her.
has 50 pounds of salt, Gabriel. Okay.
Salty
No, but
popcorn.
Sam's
No.
Club, our Indian places, you know, pretzels, you just kind of rain down
Epsom
on
salt, I'm sure you could put
Yeah.
some Epsom salt in the shower and stand in it because I don't have a bathtub, like things like that. But what are some other things that you could probably do to like
Yeah.
reground yourself or to cleanse yourself from these kinds of?
Yeah. So there's a lot of different things that you can try and feel what works for you, but exactly what you did is actually so intuitive. Is like it's a whole cleansing practice to sweep it off of your body. That's a
I did
whole
Reiki for a little bit. I did. Maybe
it's like nope, you can feel it and you're energetically like pulling it off of your body and it works. You can also smoke cleanse. You can sound cleanse. So bells are really good for sound cleansing. I have like little tingshas, or even singing bowls. You can do Olympia, which is an egg cleanse where you like rub the egg on your body sweeping down and then you crack it into a jar and then you like don't look at it from above but like it collects all of the bad energy and then you read it looking at it from like parallel and you can read all of the different energies there. So those are just some of the ways to like, but mostly like getting into the body. It's like I've definitely had times where spirits will like totally mess with my mind. Like I'm just trying to go to sleep and then I'm just like shown the most evil faces, death, dying, like horrific things. And in a lot of ways, I see it as an initiation. Like, I don't know what I can say on here, but I also have worked with like medicine work. And in that, I've like was taken to the underworld, and that was like really crazy. And I learned a lot.
So tell us
lessons
about
there.
the underworld. I definitely want to know about that.
Well, I'll say it was meant to be a small journey, and it wasn't. And I worked with Hecate And I had a big ask of her in that journey. And I said, I called forward her filth eater form, where she like eats me, consumes the miasma, or the parts of ourselves that are like no longer good for us. And so I said, you know, eat of me, like whatever is not for me, eat of me. And so I was told to like, actually these like two, this is getting crazy, but these two
No,
like
we only do crazy. It's all good. It's all good.
these two insectoid beings like were behind me, and they told me to go into the bedroom by myself. Where then
I don't know if we could talk about this part. So you might want to.
Hecate
I'm
came
uncomfortable.
as a triglobite,
Okay.
and she like munch, and then brought me to the underworld. And it was just like snakes and bugs and skeletons and spirits. And I was like, I feel psychically attacked right now. And I just remember thinking, like, I see why people reach for God in a place like this. Like, and I don't have like a relationship with like God, you know, God, but the great spirit, the universe, whatever I do. And I was like, whoa, I see why people reach for God. Cause like, I feel unsafe. I feel like just death and dying and negativity. And this voice boomed up, and it was Hecate. And she said, what could you need protection from that's not also you? And I was like, oh, okay. And then she offered me a crown. I was like, nope, maybe next time, gotta go.
So what was the underworld like? I mean, is it
Just like
people
scary.
burning,
No,
skin melting, not hot, sulfur
no, it
smelling?
was just like a cavernous, I would say, is like in
Okay.
my experience of it, like a cavern. And it was just bugs and snakes and skeletons and
Right.
yeah, just like death and dying. And really like, yeah, I don't know, it was
Interesting.
scary because it felt like psychic attack, but it kind of opened up my perspective. So like when I closed my eyes, you know, months later and had this like all of these horrific visions, I was just like, okay, show them to me. Show me all these scary things. I can like do your worst, you know, in a way. Like it kind of like builds up that resilience to that. But I don't want to call it in, stating it right now, spirit. We don't need a lot of that.
So, do you have like a, you know how like sleep paralysis works? Is it sort of like when you're having these things happen, are you going into a state of sleep paralysis? Like, or can you break out of this as you're in it?
Well, in that particular instance is like journeying with medicine. So yeah, I was like I couldn't move. I was like it is like sleep, like a dream like state, but you're awake and alert, and like and it comes in waves, I guess I'll say. So yeah.
Interesting.
That's
Yeah.
very interesting. So if can we talk a little about you being a psychic for a little bit? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So do you shut it off? Like you go and you bump into somebody at a grocery store, and do you get a synapse of that person? How does your personal psychic ability work? Do you just think of it? You're like, hey, turn on, turn off. Does it come and
Have fun.
go? Yeah,
Have fun.
exactly. Or
Yeah.
is it something that you have to wait for it to happen? How
Yeah.
does it work with you?
Um well, it's funny because it comes a couple different ways. Like
Okay.
with clients, especially with the Akashic records, like A of all, I got a lot going on. I don't want to read everybody. I don't want to talk to everybody's spirits. I don't want to know everything. Like this is just too much.
Cool.
Um, I read people as far as like I get a read for them of their energy and like maybe their intentions or something. But like when I like read for people, like I'm scribbling and it's I'm I'm on and I'm off, and I have a really clear prayer I do to open and a really clear prayer I do to close because it's a boundary, I guess, that just feels good. However, in day to day life, I'll just know things. Like a friend be like, or like this morning, just for instance, like I won't say who, but my friend had broke up with this person she was seeing, and this morning I was like, I
Damn,
feel like
man.
they're gonna get back together. And she just told me at lunch. She was like, "Oh, we've been hanging out." I was like, "I know." Because I just had a thought, you know. And she's like, "Of course you knew." But like it's happened to like a couple of times where a spirit, like not very often that a spirit will come to me without me opening. Like I was at work this was maybe 2 years ago, a year ago, and I was just talking to this guy, a trucker, like just a trucker guy, like not at all into anything spiritual, and just at my like job, and all of a sudden I got tunnel vision, and I was like, this like ringing in my ears, and I couldn't hear even what that guy was saying. I was like, there is something that wants my attention, and he was just talking about trucking, and all of a sudden I was like, your dad is here. Trucking was a family business, and there's people in your family named after your dad. I just knew those things, but I didn't want to say that to him right away to be like, well, you know, I was like, oh, and so I
He's
was
like,
just
oh, look at this crazy chick, right? No, I
but
get
it
it.
was like, your
You gotta
dad is
warm up to
here.
that. Yeah, you gotta warm up to that.
And so I eventually did be like, oh, was trucking like, you know, was a family business? And he was like, oh yeah, my dad died in 2010 and he did trucking and it's a family, you know. He's like, yeah. And then later I had told, he went to the bathroom. I went and told the bartender, and I was like, okay, this crazy thing just happened. I have to confirm this other piece of information. And so he came back, and I was like, okay, have you ever had a psychic reading? 'Cause- or whatever. And he's like, I don't know. I had my cards read once. And anyways, I ended up being right. He's like, oh yeah, my middle name is after my dad, my brother's middle name, and my grandson is named after him. And I'm like, well, he's here with you. You know, and that's all I left it at. And he was just like, you know, a regular trucker guy and just didn't really say much, but I just had to say it, I guess.
And I would assume in encounters like that, probably in those instances, the person probably needs it. Maybe they're having a bad day, maybe they're thinking of it. So I think in that way, I think it's great. So is being a psychic, is that a financial benefit for you? Do you do it as a business? And I don't mean that in a negative way at all.
Yeah, I do. It's I offer psychic mediumship readings through the lens of the Akashic records. So, and I do psychic fairs and events, and yeah.
Okay.
Can I
Um,
ask though? Because
No, you can't.
Yes, I want to ask something.
Okay, go ahead.
So the empathic, um, empathic, intuitive stuff that you're talking about that you kind of have, and sometimes it'll happen in a grocery store, sometimes it'll happen wherever you are, right? Like I consider myself to be very empathic too. Like you're taking on all this energy of these other people, and it's exhausting, by the way. So, and I just want to know if you found, like we were talking about the clap on, clap off, right? Have you found a way to kind of disconnect yourself? Like you're like, you just want to get through the grocery store. I just want to buy a rotisserie chicken. Like I don't need to know what you're feeling over here. How have you been able to shut this off when you're in these kinds of situations?
It's funny. Again, it comes down to embodiment. So I do, you know, obviously I do psychic readings, but I also do like shadow work courses, embodiment, like breath work journeys. I do a whole host of things. And so that's like a toolbox that I pull from, I guess. And it's so funny because like this is the one that I do all the time, and I get busted for doing it. And I do forget that people can observe me. But it is so it's a sigh essentially. But I will
I
and
can see
like
why people would stare. Just
Like lion's
throwing
breath.
it out there. That's yeah.
Isn't that like lion's breath in yoga? Like that.
So it's like any form of making noise or extending the exhale and sighing. And so it's actually from polyvagal theory that stimulation of the vagus nerve can like discharge some of the stress from the body. And so it's so funny because we want to like separate the psychic system from the body, and really they're like so connected. And in a lot of ways, it's like they have to work together. And so there's a lot of ways that I use like breath and even just like cleansing energy with breath and yeah, and body.
You find that works, like that expelling of the,
or just like
of the breath of the. Get out of here!
No,
Okay, right.
Stop.
That's gonna be a TikTok clip.
So, if I may ask you, Michelle, what is your accuracy? Would you say?
What is my accuracy?
And you can't say 100%, but you could, I guess. I mean, you're the psychic.
So I was listening to this TikTok of another medium of like, and psychic. It's like 50% should be your average for accuracy. I don't know that I would have a percentage because I've done so many readings, I guess,
Mhm.
over the years. A lot of my readings get like instant validation on some of the things that I say. Um, and I've also like accurately predicted pregnancies like to the month without like, I say I'm not going to be like, "Oh, I'll predict your pregnancy." It's like they ask and I say, "I'll just see if anything comes through." I'm not going to pull something
Right.
that's not
Right.
coming, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
But
absolutely, it does.
and sometimes they're not allowed to. It's like sometimes it's information that they're not supposed to know. Or like for my friend, she asked and I was like, I do feel like it's coming at this time, but I feel like there's I don't know if you've been talking to a doctor about a supplement, and she's like, I have. And then she did that and then she got pregnant at that time. So it's like I've I don't know what my percentage is, but I definitely have been correct enough times to know that I'm onto something.
That's fair, and it wasn't to trip you up. I was
No, no, no,
generally
no.
curious if there was a percentage rating when it comes to
I
psychic. You
wish.
know,
I
right?
wish I could just ask all my
I
clients
can promise
what
a
percentage was I
97%
right.
accuracy.
The
I mean, that'd be
Yelp,
great.
the Yelp reviews.
Yes.
She was 97% right.
Yeah. And
So
it's
being a psychic, between we Raven would tell you that I've had more um, instances that I guess would be in the realm of paranormal. But between the two of us, which one is more psychic? Would you say between Reverend Knight or Gabriel Von Graves?
how would I know?
Because
Only
you
you
are a
know.
psychic.
Hey,
Yeah,
you
let's play
tell
that
me.
game. I like this game.
Yeah, you tell me. I don't know. I feel like everybody has their own, and there's not really a way to like judge that because, like, as you were saying, Raven, like, you have more of an empathic, connection to
She
people
does.
that, like, do you rate that higher than like having more paranormal physical things happen? Is physical things happening related to you as a person, as a psychic, or are they just phenomenon in the right place the right time? Like they're all just like questions I guess that I have, and there's no I guess right answer to judge or like very different people's extrasensory perceptions.
So you just get questions and then you wait for answers, and that kind of builds kind of the storyline. Is that correct?
Sometimes, a lot of times, like I just tune in first to see what wants to come through. And
Sure.
if a spirit wants to come through, that's when they'll come in typically. So like I leave a little opening before anybody asks questions and just see, if anybody's here, knock knock, anybody at the door. And sometimes it's vague and then I'm like, this, I don't know, they just came through with this little information, and sometimes it's like really specific, this spirit really wants to say this exact thing and wants you to do this, and that leads somewhere. So, and then the last questions, and then I never am gonna say I'll tell you for sure, then I'll just say I'll see. I'll just let me see what wants to come through, and sometimes it's not the answer that they want because we're not. I just think we're not supposed to know everything, and psychics who can tell you yes or no to anything like don't really understand that variability in future prediction and free will and various timelines. A lot of times when I'm seeing timelines, because there's various timelines of like ways things can go, and so sometimes I'll see this is your current timeline and what could happen. Here's your highest timeline, or this is where this thing that you desire is on this highest timeline, and here's what you would need to do to get there. So that's kind of how I'll get information.
Can people switch timelines? I know Raven and I have had conversations many a times where you start a day, something happens, and then it ends up completely different, and it doesn't feel natural. It felt like you stepped into a different version. Do Can you explain that? You're shaking your head, so I'm assuming that's a thing. Can you
Yeah.
explain that?
100%. Like, I think we jump timelines all the time based on the decisions that we make, and we just don't notice it because
Hmm.
time feels really linear to us. Like, even our past lives are not past, as we can see with ghosts. like their ghosts past or their present, like it's all happening right now. And so it's just our experience of time is linear, and so the concept of like that's so we perceive it as jumping timelines. Um, with infinite possibilities. I've definitely done some channeling in the Akashic records for myself, where I was, I guess, told on how to like tie timelines together for people, and like, okay, this is the desired timeline, this is where you're at. Like, what energy can we bring into bringing these two timelines together? Which is, I guess, manifestation, right? And a lot of it comes down to like, is the knot, is the energy of the tie of the desire of the trajectory strong enough to meet your resistance to it? And so it's like the resistance is always going to try to keep you where you are. And so there's a lot of inner work to be done too.
Is there like timelines that are less beneficial? I mean, we always talk about we switch
Yeah.
timelines and all of a sudden something's great. Can you drop backwards?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I would say like backwards, but you can like go, I call it into my depths.
Okay.
Or like I'm deep in the shadow work, or like into my depths, because there's a sense of like, oh, there's something still here for me. Obviously, if I'm here, like there's something here for me.
It
So is
almost
there
makes way
multiple
Gabriel.
is there multiple things of like Gabriel different, timelines of Gabriel doing different things, or is it just being able to raise a different level where you're at?
There's infinite timelines.
Okay.
But in my
Okay.
experience, just in quantum physics, there's infinite timelines. But in my experience, we have a certain amount, and it's a small amount of like, I would say energized timelines. Like, we're not just going to go off the rocker and now I'm a carny and I'm doing that. Like, that's a timeline, sure.
Is it
But
possible to do that?
it's possible. Hey, I did it.
Okay. Did you? Okay.
But it's like there's certain trajectories that you're on that makes certain timelines more probable. And so that's like how I perceive it, at least in the Akashic records. It's like, okay, here's the main ones that we need to focus on.
So more likely you slip in something that's similar to what's going on in your life currently.
Yeah.
Okay. But it is possible to jump into something that's totally. I jump in and I have like 12 kids and I'm a billionaire. I mean, or I could fall into a timeline where I'm in prison. I committed a murder and I wake up and there I am in a jail cell. That you're saying that is quite possible.
Sure. And in our experience of linear time, I don't know if it would be you would wake up in that timeline, or if it would be something that would set off the trajectory that would
Okay.
shift your current timeline to that, if that makes sense.
So again, it'd be kind of similar. You just don't
Yeah.
wake up. Are there steps that you become familiar with where if you do find yourself in this thing, you're like, well, that's why, because these steps happen. Okay. What do you have, Raven?
Well, I don't know. Okay, so
You
I
don't
have a
know?
lot.
Okay.
I
Right.
don't know. I have a lot to this point. There's a lot that just happened there. So I love the fact that you were bringing up like timelines, like that you think that, it's like a choose your own adventure, essentially. Like, okay, well, I chose this path, so now I'm going in this direction, which I think that's essentially life in general. But I love that you kind of just said like you can kind of jump timelines from that way. But I wanted to ask you, and Gabriel's going to be like so sick of me at this point. So I had the wildest case of deja vu that I've ever had in my entire life.
Is this the
Just
cabin copy sign? Are we going to go there? The cabin
no,
stuff?
no, 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 no.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, that was something completely different.
Our Woodman store, we're like,
That was right after the Sally House. We
Oh,
might have
okay.
jumped timelines after
All
that. We
right.
all came back
Okay.
from the
Well,
Sally House
give it to her.
with
Go
like
ahead. Yeah.
completely different things. No, just the other day I had the wildest case of deja vu, and I kind of wanted to ask you, just with all of your stuff that you're kind of talking about, like to you, what is deja vu, and does that, or like did I switch timelines, or like what happened here where like all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I really had this insane case. Like I've never felt it like that before. What do you think
Yeah.
deja vu is?
It's interesting. I don't really know. I guess like in my experience, it's something that's like there's something that like wants you to like wake up. There's something for you to pay attention to. Even if it's something really simple, it's definitely happened to me a few times where I'm like, what is going on? I know this just happened, or I
Yeah.
just dreamt this and now it's happening, and you're saying this exact sequence of words, or like and so I think it just depends on the, you could tune in and see like what is that specific case of deja vu. Is it
Right.
something that's just like that feeling of familiarity trying to like get your attention, saying there's something more subtle happening in this moment for you to be aware of? Or is it something that, is just familiar to you because you've experienced something like that in a parallel reality or a, past life, however you want to say it? Or is it something that you dreamt and then now we're experiencing? And even that you could see as a parallel timeline of like your dream world happening on top of your
Real.
waking world.
Sure. No, it was completely wild. Like it was in a space that I've never really been in or not really spent time in, and with just everything in that same space. Like it was like I'd already been there, but I had never been there. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was wild. It was a minute. Like it took me a minute where I was like, whoa, I have never had this happen before. I've had deja vu plenty of times, but
Mhm.
not to that extent. So that was very interesting to me.
It's interesting that's like location based too.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
like what's at that location that's for you to like dig deeper into, or like where did that lead to?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I
I
just
don't
thought I'd
know.
bring that up. We were talking
Yeah,
about timelines and
interesting.
all that stuff. Yeah. Okay.
That
Okay.
You're not going to bring up the cabin coffee sign.
That was okay. All right, fine. I will bring up the cabin coffee sign. So we went we went to the Sally house, and it was the first time we went to the Sally house, and we left the Sally house, and literally there were three of us, that very well, maybe even all of us after we left. There were five of us in the house total. Is that right? I think so. Um, and three of us for sure the next day had all of these crazy things happen. Like
Yep.
where I go to Cabin
Yep.
Coffee almost every single morning, or I was going to Cabin Coffee almost every single morning, and all of a sudden the sign outside of Cabin Coffee was completely different. And I was like, but I hadn't been there in a few days. So, but I had to literally call them. They probably thought I was crazy. I had to
They
call.
thought you were crazy, I'm sure.
Yeah, they did. But I had to call them and be like, when did you change the sign? Because it was completely different. Everything that day when we got back felt so weird and so off and so different. But same with Gabriel. Like he also had an experience that happened where he was like, was this real? Like, was this thing here forever? Or is this
Hmm.
something that just was here? And like, we all like started to question ourselves.
Yeah,
Well, that's
it was a very weird sensation to actually question
our reality.
your own
We
memories. And I'm
literally
like,
were questioning our
yeah,
realities.
yeah, right.
You
That
guys
being
are
said,
still have energy from that. I want to say every time you say the house name, I get like chills and up my back, and I feel like I don't know, an energy, a presence of like. So I don't know what you.
It's not a good property. It
no,
really
it's
isn't.
not.
Everybody
It
that
doesn't feel
stayed,
great. I'm like,
no, everybody that stayed in that property, the first time was probably the most challenging, I would say, at least for me, that
Yeah.
it isn't what happens there. I mean, what happens there was very significant, that was caught on camera, but it was more of the after effect. It knew you were coming because I dreamt before I got there.
Mhm.
We had an encounter where we saw something that was trying to manifest, I would say, outside the porch of the Raven, and it was there that it was me and somebody else saw it, and we both looked at each other and we're like, "There's no way that just happened."
Mhm.
I do think that there is a portal there because the house, it was fine. I mean, other than, I mean, you smelt a rose and we were smelling roses and we had these orbs literally come from my body. It was just, it was terrific. It really was. But it just, it was, I was afraid as a grown man, um, about a couple weeks before we got there because I dreamt about the house.
Yeah.
Um, and it was like calling me. And I remember that sensation because I had an experience a couple times um, at a bar, and I knew I would go to this bar for for business reasons, and I knew going there some days were going to be better than others because it would call to me. It was like it would mock me and it would be waiting for me to show up. So I had that same sensation probably the first night at a couple weeks before I went to the Sally House. It was calling for me. It knew my energy was going to be there, and it was mocking it, kind of. So to me, as a grown man, I was like, well, I haven't had that in a while. It's been 20 years, right? So let's give it a go. And then just the magnitude of things that were extremely hard to fathom that were happening in that property, and then the after effect, which I think is more alarming, is the dreams that would manifest. Just because we were in that presence. And
So
we got to the point where we actually were very thankful that we are no longer there. And it took a couple months to kind of shed that the presence. And it was quite spiritual, I thought, at least. Raven, what do you think?
well, I was just gonna say, like, actually, two of you, because again, we've had a couple of
Yeah.
us. Two of you had nightmares as soon as we left. I had bad luck, like bad luck. And then we went back because why wouldn't we? The second time we didn't have as much experience in the house, but then after, like literally after we got back, I had nightmares and like the weirdest, most vivid dreams, or like dreams that I don't normally have, like these vivid dreams like this. And that was kind of something that happened. I don't know
Well,
about the rest of you,
I
but
I think
it was cool.
one theory could possibly be that it woke us up, and kind of because I can tell you that two times being there, in my own personal home, I see flickers of shadows that just weren't there before. And I would have felt them coming in, buying this house. I would have felt them, and I would have like, hey, we dealt that once. I don't want to deal with that again. But I can tell you that there was something that did follow us through.
Yeah.
And either it followed us through or it made us more aware. It woke us up to what was going on around us, which is it's a fair possibility. Which I think kind of led to that last experience where we were kind of questioning our own thoughts, like, was this really, did this really happen? Or did something waken within us and we're just happening and noticing things a little differently? What's your
Yeah.
theory on there, Michelle?
Yeah, it feels like not a great spirit, and they can they visit you in your dreams, they give you nightmares. Like it's valid. It's all real. I feel that. I feel it now. Just like, like honestly, I can feel like kind of the heaviness of it, the weight of
Hmm.
it, and it does feel more like, I guess, an evil energy,
Very
um,
evil, yep.
because it doesn't feel like, oh, just negative and mischievous. Like it feels intentionally malicious.
It's purpose
Um,
driven to just kind of wear you down, to make you
yes,
question yourself,
yeah,
Your
to the point
reality.
where that you kind of let it in a little bit because you're like, wow, what is this? And then I think
yeah.
hopefully you don't get that point where you actually try to interact, because I've never been one in interacting with things. It just to me it just doesn't seem like that'd be a safe bet to do.
No, and especially without like I don't know. I don't know what you guys do as paranormal investigators, but I do all the protections. Like this is my protection like spell jar necklace. Like I would
Mm.
do the smoke cleansing. I would call in my ancestors. I would like set the intention of like I'm here to communicate with spirits of my highest good and of my highest good energy only. Anybody who intends me harm or malicious intent, like I do the I've done one paranormal investigation with like somebody, and you have to have really clear intentions and protections of like to engage with that. And even now I'm like, I don't know if I would mess with that, like because I'd rather just hang out with ancestors and y'all's loved ones, um because
Oh,
they're fun, they
we
got
have
great
lots of
messages.
stories about stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know as a child you talked about uh, psychic children or psychic kids. As a child, I experienced things at a home that I grew up in, and I think the negative or positive effect, depends on how you look at it,
Mm.
kind of shaped my belief system and things, to the point where, you know, I've never really felt alone, even though, because there's always something there, whether it was a positive thing or negative thing. But the older I get, I've had brushes with death, which I honestly should have dead. I should have been dead. It's still, when I think about it, I don't even know why I'm still here. But at the same time, I know that, in my belief, I believe in God. I believe God spared me for a reason. I He just did. And I know that there's other things out there that I've experienced that's on a more of a, spiritual level, that kind of makes me understand some of the experiences I had as a child. That, kind of puts my mind at ease. Of like, well, of course that's what happened.
100%. I feel like
Say
all
something,
those
Raven.
experiences primed you for
Primed
like
me. Well,
it primed you for the work that you do now, and to feel confident to face spirits regardless of their intent.
it does take, a
Yeah.
certain amount of self-awareness to be able
Yeah.
to go. I mean, having nightmares about a place you haven't even been in being familiar with that property. As soon as you walk in there, you're like, well, yeah, so it does take a certain amount of confidence. At least I would say, for me, a belief system in something that's more than me, that I can call when, I get a little over my head. And I don't know if that's the same with you, Raven, but, how do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we even talked about like I did the little brush off thing. We
Right?
even prayed when we left the Sally house.
Absolutely
Um,
did.
but I think it is very important to have a belief system in something other than ourselves. At least have some sort of like I don't know what you would call it, Michelle, but like higher power for sure. That something out there is there, and there's some sort of protection there for anybody who goes into these kinds of situations or who has these kinds of experiences, whatever that is for you, whatever you believe in. But you have to have that belief that there's also a higher power, because nothing else makes sense without that. So
Mm.
yeah.
So, final thoughts there, Raven, at all?
No, I want to say, Michelle, it's been amazing having you on. I
Ah, it's been
think
great.
you've been very, you're very knowledgeable in a lot of the things that you do, and I just really appreciate like having you on and having you tell people about what you do. I know Gabriel is not into yoga or any of these things, so he's kind of some of
Absolutely not.
what they're talking about. Um, but can we give everyone, I guess, like just tell everyone where they can find you, what you
Yeah.
do, because I do know that you offer classes. I do know that you also have a podcast, or you did
Ooh.
have a podcast at one point, which we didn't even touch on. We wanted to talk more about like what you do yourself, but if we could just kind of touch on where people can find you, maybe where they can get readings from you, anything that they need, whatever you offer. If you can just give all of those things right now.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Primarily, you can find me on Instagram at the Paradox Witch. That's where I kind of like post everything. I have my link tree with all of my links. If I have any classes coming up, I'll post it on there. My Facebook as well is Michelle Green, aka the Paradox Witch. Um, those are the main, like, social media always has links to all of the things. I do online courses, so I have an online course, Shadow Priestess, on like how to go in and do the shadow work from not like a basic perspective, if that makes sense, of like, oh, my parents did this and why I'm this way. It's more of like a somatic embodied approach. um, and then I do pop-up classes both virtually and in person. I have a Halloween breathwork journey in the Salt Cave, so talking to salt, hey, we need some cleansing of spirits, right?
Like
And
it.
I open up everybody's Akashic records, and I'll sometimes, if I sense a spirit, or if people, it's a journey, a breathwork journey. So, I kind of can tandem with people, and feel where they're going, and send energy work and whatnot to them. So that's the Thursday, or the day before Halloween. And if you're local to Eau Claire. I do have 2 podcasts, so I've been doing podcasts for a long time. I haven't made a new one in a while. The original podcast that I thought I retired, but it's still there, guys, is the Bliss Tonic podcast. It's like old me, yoga, just
I know Bliss
talking, spiritual stuff, how to be a human, all that. I've been really into that for a while. Probably started that in like 2016. And then I have a podcast. I didn't know I was psychic. So I share a little bit of my story, and then I interview people's journeys of psychic awakening and how they came into their gifts.
Well, to my wonderful co-host, thank you for joining me and setting this up. It was a wonderful, wonderful podcast. And to our guest, Michelle, the Paradox Witch, thank you for walking with us through the dark and the divine. Your insight reminds us that the power is not found in spells or symbols, but found into ourselves. Until next time, keep your candles burning low, your mind wide open, and your souls just curious enough to wander again. I am, of course, Gabriel Von Graves. This is Darkwoods Paranormal, brought to you by Unbox Media LLC. Check us out on all the socials. Anything else you want to say, Raven, before we say goodnight?
No, I think you did a fantastic job. As always, though, if you like the podcast, like, follow, subscribe, all those things, please go check out Michelle and check out her
Absolutely.
website. Book a reading, book whatever. I would love to join one of these only women circles. Gabriel?
That's sexist. That is sexist. It's fine.
I'm going to. And
I
you're
might
not
just start identifying as a witch. You know, you never know.
But please go follow, like, subscribe, all those things with Michelle Green, the Paradox Witch. If you like what we talked about today, please also comment and all of those wonderful things, and share with your friends, because that helps us so much. We work really, 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 really hard. That's a lot of release, by the way, at doing this. So we would appreciate all the love as well. So
well, thank you,
so much.
Raven. To everybody,
you.
stay aware, stay curious, and most of all, do stay safe out there. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.